People are paying big for moon burials, and it could be crossing a concerning line. When NASA attempted to return to the moon for the first time in 50 years on January 8, more was at risk than just $108 million worth of development and equipment. The agency earned the ire of the Native American Navajo people, who made a bid to stop the launch because of an unusual inclusion in the payload. The Peregrine lander, which completed its controlled re-entry into the atmosphere late last week, was carrying human ashes, including those of famed science fiction author Arthur C. Clarke. A commercial partnership also allowed paying customers to send their mementos to the moon. As space exploration becomes increasingly privatized and commercialized, you can now send your favorite stuff to the moon. But what does that mean, both ethically and legally? The moon opens for business. U.S. company Astrobotic owns the Peregrine, which is the size of a small car. It ran into fatal fuel issues shortly before being launched on Vulcan Centaur rocket from Cape Canaveral. On board are vanity canisters. The idea arose in a partnership between the firm and global freight company DHL. Under the deal, anyone can send 2.5 centimeters by 5 centimeters package to the lunar surface for less than $500. Apart from size, there were a few other limitations on what each package could contain. Astrobotic, founded in 2007 and based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, is one of the several U.S. companies providing commercial lunar payload services to NASA to deliver science and technology to the moon. Peregrine was also carrying scientific instruments from 6 countries and many science teams. Perhaps surprisingly, sending ashes into space is not new aboard suborbital Earth and Earth orbital flights. 2 American companies make the business of the service starting at just a few $1,000s, Celestis and Elysium Space. The practice is embraced by many, including astronauts who have been in space. A moon burial, yes, you can buy one, costs more than around $13,000. Commercial payloads launched from U.S. soil require approval, but that approval process only covers safety, national security, and foreign policy. Peregrine, if it had made it, would have marked the first commercial lunar burial. It's uncharted territory as other worlds become within reach, although it is not the first time it has come up. NASA pledged to consult in the future after an outcry from the Navajo when 20 years ago it carried some of Eugene Shoemaker's ashes to the moon aboard a lunar prospector probe, and like many other indigenous cultures, the Navajo Nation considers the moon sacred and opposes using it as a memorial site. However, NASA said in a press briefing it had no control over what was on Peregrine, highlighting the gaps between commercial enterprise and international space law. The legal minefield. Another question concerns the rules and individual nations on where and how human ashes can be located, handled, and transported, and how those could extend to space. For example, in Germany, ashes must be buried in a cemetery. With space privatization accelerating, the ethical and legal maze deepens. The Outer Space Treaty, OST, declares space the province of all mankind while banning national appropriation. It fails, however, to address what private companies and individuals can do. The recent Artemis records, signed by 32 nations, expand protection to lunar sites of historical significance, but these protections only apply to governments and not to commercial missions. And no one owns the moon to grant burial rights or any other world or celestial body. The treaty requires states to authorize and supervise activities in space. It requires due regard for the interests of other states. Many countries have space law that includes grounds for refusing payload items not in their national interests, for example, Indonesia and New Zealand. Nations apparently without such consideration, including Australia and the US, may need to consider expanding this template with the emergence of the commercial world in a traditionally governmental arena. Now, where to draw the line? Earth's orbit is already clogged with defunct satellites, and further out, items like Elon Musk's Tesla, annual number of objects launched into space, including satellites, probes, landers, crews, spacecraft, and space station flight elements. Well, from the year 2019, when it was about 500, up to this last year was 2,500. Now, we have already spread space probes across other worlds, including the Moon, Mars, Titan, and Venus, but much may be treasured rather than junk, according to the space archaeologist Alice Gorman. For example, the Apollo astronauts left official mementos such as a plaque marking the first human footsteps on the lunar surface. Some have left personal ones too, like Apollo 16's Charles Duke, who left a framed family photo. However, sending a clipping of your hair or the ashes of your pet dog to the moon may not qualify as culturally and historically important. The problem, therefore, is where we want to place a line in the sand as we step out into the cosmos, into the shorelines of other worlds. We cannot turn back the clock on private space enterprise, nor should we, but this failed mission with ashes and vanity payloads exemplifies the unexplored questions in the legal and ethical infrastructure to support commercial activities. It's worth pausing for thought on future commercialization, such as mining asteroids and the eventual colonization of space. And this is by Carol Oliver, Professor of Science, Communication, and Astrobiology, UNSW in Sydney. This is from the Conversations under Creative Commons here on Science Alert. Please give a thumbs up to the video, share and subscribe, and comment. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.